Teddy and her big mouth, as Camille Grammer said. All right. This is Troy J. Robertson back with episode 11, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills recap with FabFitFun. All right, so on last night's episode, the ladies meet Boy George and Billy Idol. Erica Jane's on a short hiatus from her tour. Denise Richards and Lisa Vanderpump head to lunch. PK calls Ken and extends the olive branch. Lisa Vanderpump is finishing her kitchen renovation, and Dorit gives Teddy the hand. Make sure that you are liking, sharing, subscribing to FabFitFun's YouTube channel. Let's get into it, shall we? All right, so this week's It's a Look. This one took a lot of deliberating, and there weren't a lot of close calls, but there was some close calls when it came down to actually picking the look of the person that I decided on. And this week's It's a Look is going to Boy George in that amazing entrance that he made to the backstage area with the ladies. He's got the white, I don't know if it's a cowboy hat or a 10-gallon hat or whatever they're called. He's got a white hat on. He's got this long black jacket with these gold tassels kind of like riveting down it. The face is snatched, the contour is tight, the eye makeup is smoldering. Boy George, you still got it. By George, he's got it. It's a look. Last night's quote of the night is gonna go to none other than Lisa Rinna. In explaining towards the end of the episode what everyone's interpretation of British humor is, Lisa Rinna chimes in by saying, "I wish I could hide behind British humor. No, I'm just with iconic hair and big lips." All right, Troy's titillating topic. Number 1, PK calling Ken. This was a moment for me. It was a very short scene. I think it's appropriate. I think it was appropriate to show, and I really like that we're gonna see next week, PK and Dorit, as well as Ken and Lisa heading to lunch to kind of talk about, the state of the union, the state of their friendship. And so for PK to extend the olive branch, this is one of those moments where I do like when a husband gets involved. Portia wanting to be a makeup artist or a YouTube star, I think is great. I think she's got the personality for it, but the first thing I thought, and I'm sorry, she's just a child, but the first thing I thought was, great. Now I gotta compete with Portia out here on YouTube? Oh, it ain't going down like that. And the third topic, Denise's ex, Charlie Sheen, requesting a lowering of child support. Apparently he can't afford the $20K a month anymore. I got news for you, Charlie. You shouldn't have blown it all away. No pun intended, okay? Because $20K a month to you back in the day should have been chump change. Now let's get into the recap. One of the first things I want to talk about is Denise and Aaron working out. Not only do I just enjoy all of their scenes together, but Denise's transparency with a lot of the issues that she deals with in her life currently, as well as the transparency of what she dealt with, leaving Charlie and during all of that time is really great. As a child from a broken home, I dealt with things as a child that I feel like Denise is kind of relating to the viewers in this scene, and that is she is questioning herself whether or not she did the right thing by sheltering her kids from all of the fights and issues with Charlie. She might have did them a disservice, and now she's worried about them in relationships that they might have with other people and with guys moving forward, and she gets really upset about that. And regardless of if there's a right or wrong answer, as a parent, parents are human. So if it was the wrong answer, parents make mistakes as well because they are also human. I think a lot of times in divorces, especially public divorces like Charlie Sheen's and Denise Richards, the children are almost subject to too much information. Sometimes kids know too much. So for her to kind of separate that and to shelter her kids from that in the moment, she felt like she was doing the right thing. And I can just say from past experience, I feel like she did do the right things. So, Denise, do not be too hard on yourself. I think that, you have proven time and time again in the past 11 episodes that you are a good mom. Cut yourself some slack, honey. Denise Richards and Lisa Vanderpump scene concurrent / the scene with Dorit and Kyle. We've got the ladies all discussing Lisa and her standing with the group. And so Denise is saying to Lisa Vanderpump, listen, they love you, we miss you, we want you to come back. And Lisa Vanderpump is maintaining the fact, I have to separate myself. I have someone who is accusing me of being a liar, who's not believing me when I'm swearing on my children, and I just can't have that negativity in my life right now. And listen, I am agreeing with Lisa Vanderpump on this because she does feel she wants to retreat. And she said that. She's like, I can't explain why I want to retreat, but that is just what I want to do in this moment. And Denise is explaining and she's trying to mediate and she's trying to say like, listen, there were a lot of difficult things that I had to answer to with my dissolving of my marriage with Charlie. And there were times where I wanted to cancel all my press junkets and my conferences and my interviews, but I just went in and I faced the lion's den. And Lisa Vanderpump is saying, listen, you were brave for doing that. You had a choice. You did it your way. I'm doing it my way. And I think that we have to respect her for that. On the other hand, we've got Dorit and Kyle discussing it. And, you know, I didn't really care for Dorit's comparison of Lisa Vanderpump to Charlie Sheen. I think that that's gonna come back and bite her. I think she's really gonna regret that, especially around reunion time, because we've got Dorit saying in interviews and in real time, and you know, in some scenes saying how she wants to mend things with Lisa Vanderpump, and then when you make a comparison like that, even if you feel slighted, you're gonna regret it, and Lisa will not forget. We know this by now, ladies. And so then we also have Kyle bringing up something that I think holds a little truth to it, and that is Lisa Vanderpump does prefer to surround herself with people who do not check her. And I don't think that that is an issue. I think it's just the truth, and I think that there are people in real life that do that too. I think there's people in other franchises that do that. I think if you look at Kandi on Atlanta, I think that the people that Kandi surrounds herself with on her multiple businesses are people that are riding for her that do not check her. If you look at the success of her other franchises and her spin-offs and her restaurants, she is in a position of power over a lot of these people. It wasn't a negative thing for Kyle to say that, but Kyle was just saying, listen, friends are allowed to check one another. And she feels as though Lisa surrounds herself with people that just don't call her out. I don't think there's an issue with that, but I do think that it's the truth. When we get to the end of the episode, you know, the ladies met Billy Idol, Boy George. They saw Boy George perform with Gladys Knight. They had a blast. This was one of my favorite scenes, I'm not kidding, of the entire season. How much fun they all had together. It was so organic and natural and camaraderie and hilarious. There was no drama until they get to the dressing room. And PK had to make a little bit of a joke. I'm calling it a joke, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. No, that's not all I'm gonna say. Anyone that knows me knows that that's not all I'm gonna say. And anybody that's watching knows that that's not all I'm gonna say. It gets to the end and, you know, I can't remember really what was said or what Kyle said, but, you know, PK says something like, well, Kyle, you can't even keep your relationship with your best friend. Whatever was said really was a joke. Like, it might have been too soon, but I think that this was overly dramatized and overly sensitized by Kyle. I know there's gonna be a lot of people watching this who are giving a lot of claps right now because there's a lot of people who think that I ride only for Kyle and I'm team Kyle and everything, but no, I'm holding everyone accountable, okay? I don't think that British humor is used as an excuse on this franchise. However, I do think that in that moment, that joke that PK did give to Kyle was British humor. Kyle's reaction was a little dramatic. I thought she was overly sensitive about it, and then I thought the ladies gassed her up way too much about this. So then we move out to the outside and they're kind of discussing it. Everyone's gassing Kyle up. Dorit comes out to explain it. Then we've got the topic of Teddy jumping into everything, and you know, Camille makes a good point. Camille's like, listen, me and Dorit don't always get along, but I have to side with Dorit on this one because Teddy is always jumping into business that isn't her business. And in that moment, for her to bring it to the whole Lisa and Ken and Kyle and Teddy and Dorit situation, it wasn't that moment for you, Teddy. Like, you gotta pick and choose your battles. It wasn't your time. Let Dorit and Kyle have their time. But Dorit was not having it. Dorit said to Teddy, that's all. She gave her that hand. She gave her that nasty, nasty face, and she shut her down. Like, Teddy was like, shut her down. Now, if you're in the middle of building your friendship back up, do I think that that was the correct reaction? No. Do I like when my closest friends talk to me like that? No. Have I accidentally talked like that to a friend? I don't know, you'll have to ask them. Dorit is gonna ride for her man, and she's also gonna empathize with her now close friend, Kyle. And so I think that this is gonna be good. I think moving forward it's gonna be good. You know, Dorit and Teddy kind of squashed it at the end as well. Teddy says to Dorit, you know, I just don't want you to talk to me like that. All in all, this episode was kind of like still water with a baby wave at the end, but you know, it was pretty good, and you know, Lisa Rinna had some good one-liners. Thank God for Rinna saving the day. All right, this is Troy J. Robertson, and this has been the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, a recap with FabFitFun. Before we leave, though, I am gonna do this week's Rose and Thorn, and so this week's Rose is Cruz throwing a temper tantrum when Teddy was getting ready to leave with all of the ladies. This just reminded me of like how much I hated when my parents left, and he's just in this cute little onesie pajama and he's like running around the house, stomping, whining, crying just because Teddy's leaving. It was so cute. So it might have been a thorn for Teddy in the moment, but it was a rose for me last night. And the thorn was just really how the episode ended. I was so happy with how much fun the ladies had at the Boy George concert, and then for it to just take a turn like that, I think I know why they did it, but I wish I would have rather them, I don't know, maybe PK saying the joke, a slight reaction from Kyle, and then that would have started off next week's episode. Like, I wanted to end one episode just on a positive note. That's all I'm saying. They had to put a little bit of drama in there, I get it. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't, but I just really liked how high and positive everything was at the end of the episode, and then it ended so negatively. What are you gonna do? I'm still gonna watch. So this is Troy J. Robertson. Again, thank you so much for watching, for subscribing, coming back every single week and commenting. So I will see all of you here next week with me and FabFitFun. Over and out. Stay tuned. Have a great week.